Welcome to Yours in Health and Human Services. YHHS is a program brought to you on behalf of the Rockingham County Division of Health and Human Services and is designed to provide the most current programs, services, and events for the citizens of Rockingham County.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Yours in Health and Human Services. My name is Katrina White, and I'm the Health Education Program Manager and Public Information Officer for Rockingham County Department of Health and Human Services. Actually, today is our inaugural segment for our Yours in Health and Human Services, and we have today with us Miss Cathy Mary. Cathy is the Service Program Manager for Health and Human Services, and today we're going to talk about what is current in foster care in Rockingham County. Cathy?
Hey, Katrina, how are you today?
Good. So thank you so much for being here. And what we want to talk about today and discuss and share with the community is where we stand right now in Rockingham County with the foster care system and maybe the impact that it's having on the community and the children. And I know you all work so hard with this day in and day out, sun up, sun down. And so it doesn't really matter because you all are always so dedicated to these children and these families in Rockingham County. So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions about, what's going on here. Tell us about how children come into the foster care system.
Well, the thing about foster care and with child welfare totally is that we work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. We never slow down. This year during COVID, we did see a drop in the number of cases and phone calls that came into our office. Just because kids weren't in school for a very short period of time. When kids weren't in school and things like that, it did decrease our numbers of reports coming in for a very short amount of time, in March and the first part of April. But after that, our numbers have picked up, unfortunately, with families being together for a very extended period of time and things like that, and with remote learning going on now and things like that, where children are not being seen by teachers and things like that so much. We are not getting that contact where children are being checked on. But our numbers have gone back up to where they were before. As of today, right now, there are 154 children in foster care in Rockingham County. At the end of June, there were only 123. So that number changes on a weekly basis. The number of children that are in foster care. We have children that are able to be reunited with their families. So that number fluctuates throughout the year, but it has increased in the past couple of months.
So that just goes to show that it really takes a village.
It does take a village. We depend on our community partners quite a bit for not only to make a child welfare report, but once a child comes into care, we see a lot of our community partners with having therapy for our children that come into care, to have forensic interviews done of our children if we need them at Help Incorporated and Kaleidoscope, our child advocacy center. We see those children are seen over there quite a bit. At youth services, their children are seen by them quite a bit. Parenting classes for those children, for the parents. All of those agencies offer those services to them. So we use our county partners quite a bit to see those. They come to the health department for all of the kids that come into foster care are seen by our health department lots of times, usually within 72 hours of coming into care for a physical. If not within 72 hours, within 7 days for a physical, to make sure that they're healthy or don't have any unmet health needs. So that's quite a bit of a partnership that, since we are a consolidated agency, that's a huge benefit. And get on any medications that they may need and things like that. So we do that. It's mandated that we do it, but it really has worked to our benefit for these kids to be seen at our health department.
Absolutely. So how does someone become a foster parent?
Okay, currently right now we do have our model approach to partnering and parenting partnership going on. It's a 10-week. It's a huge title. We call it MAP. Very easy to remember. Use the letters. It's very easy. We have our MAP class going on. It's a 10-week class for folks who are interested in becoming a foster parent. We desperately need foster parents here in Rockingham County. Again, like I said, there are 154 kids in care. Most of them are placed outside the county. Because of that, we only have 37 licensed foster homes in Rockingham County. So these kids have to be removed not only from their community, but from their school, from everywhere else that they know, because they don't have it here. You know, we've been fortunate. Rockingham County Schools has worked with us, and a lot of those kids who were doing virtual learning are able to continue virtual learning still in their school system. So that has been a
that's
benefit.
great.
That is great.
Yeah.
So that's been a benefit. So they're still with their classmates here, but we don't know how much longer that's going to last. So, you know, that has worked out for us. But our foster parent training class lasts for 10 weeks. We're fortunate. We're holding it right here in this room for the first time ever. So we're having it here on Tuesday nights. So that's going to be interesting to see how that works. But we've, since the governor changed about social distancing, we can have a few more people in this room, and we're going to do it here in this class. But it does take 10 weeks. But anybody that's interested in being a foster parent, you have to be over 21. You have to have at least a high school diploma or a GED to be able to do that. Your house has to be inspected by the fire marshal, either in the city or the county that you live in. You have to have space. You have to have the room to be able to have a foster child in your home. They have to have a separate sleeping space in your home. And the fire marshal and all, we can tell you more about that when you come in. You have to have the income to be able to meet your own bills. And then, you know, with an additional person coming into your house, you have to be able to pay your own bills every month, and that kind of thing. And then there are other things that you would have to look at to make sure, if you have a swimming pool or water hazard around your house, we would have to look and see what that would look like. You know, if you have, you'd have to make sure that all of that was safe and locked if need be, especially if you had a swimming pool and things like that, which I think most folks, if you do have a water hazard like that, you do have it locked for safety and things like that. But it's a lot to do, but
it's very important that you have these things in place, and there's some criteria and things that, you know, make sure that people are eligible to be foster parents.
And the thing
for the right reason.
The thing about it too, these are not just Rockingham County's rules. These are state rules that we have to follow through and abide by. And that's, you know, we have to answer someone other than just Rockingham County.
Yeah,
it's us. You
absolutely.
know, the fire marshal is us, but you know, everybody else is. You know, we have to do that. You have to have a fingerprint check and a criminal records check and things like that. So COVID has slowed us up on that because we're having trouble with fingerprints and stuff like that. But we're working through all of that. Things are starting to slowly open back up. So we're working on it.
Well, I really admire you all over there because you're under so much, I feel like it's pressure and responsibilities, but you handle it so gracefully. You always do, and that says a lot about you all as an organization and the leadership. So kudos to you all.
Thank you. You haven't seen my desk. So.
I'm afraid to, Cathy.
You are.
I'm
Yeah,
afraid
you need to be very afraid, Katrina, because my desktop looks. This is a very nice, clean desktop because my desktop looks.
Let me know when I come and take a picture for the newsletter. But you was mentioning the foster care classes. Do you have a date set for the next one?
The next one will be. We usually try not to have them during the winter or during the worst part of the winter because. As sure as you schedule something, we will get snow or sleet or something here in Rockingham County, and you'll have to postpone it. Usually we wait till end of February, first part of March, when we can kind of sort of count on the weather here. But the one there's going on right now, if you're interested, you can call us and we can get you into it. But the next one will probably be the end of February, first part of March before we'll start the next class up. Because if sure as you schedule something for January here,
absolutely,
it won't happen because of snow or sleet or something like that. But you know, we try to work around the weather.
Let me ask you a question. And if someone is not able, the first question I want to ask when you were talking about the requirements, when you said about the home, does it have to be a home, a house? You know, have your house inspected? Does it have to be a house? Can it be like a unit, like an apartment?
It can be an apartment. It can be a townhouse. It can be a mobile home. It can be anything like that.
Okay.
But it would have to be, you know, you'd have to have the space, and you'd have to have it fire inspected and things like that.
Okay. Thank you. And if someone is considering becoming a foster parent, but right now not ready, for whatever reason, can they still take the class, but at another time they can actually, when the time is right, they become a foster parent?
Well, the thing about it, the if you came and took the class now, we have to either license you or not within a certain amount of time. So if you want to wait and do it 2 or 3 years down the road, you need to wait and take the class 2 or 3 years from now. So we'd love to have you, but we're going to have to move on your your application and your licensure
makes
process.
sense.
We can't wait and do it 2 or 3 years from now. We need to do it. If you're interested now, you need to follow through with it now.
So does the potential foster parent have to pay for licenses,
No,
or
no.
do you have to have them updated periodically?
You do have to get them updated every 2 years, and what's required for that is that you need to follow through on some, go online and take some classes and things like that, but none of those are charged for. You have to update, you have to have CPR and things like that, but usually all of those, you can find those free and go out and do those things, which that's a benefit to you anyway, to know how to do CPR and things like that. Unfortunately, you may have the need to learn that sometime in your life, and you're gonna have to do those kinds of things. So we want you to have that benefit, but a lot of the classes, we'll send you information out to say, hey, come and do this. We offer some classes for you to come to get some extra, a couple of hours credit. You have to do, I think it's 12 hours over a 2-year period, so it's not asking you to do a lot.
Yeah.
So, but we, ask you to come and do that. For your license lasts for 2 years, and you have 2 years to get enough credits in to do relicense.
Okay,
So,
great. So what do you look for in a foster parent if there's anything that's covered already?
well, you would have to. The hardest part about being a foster parent is we ask you to love them like they're your own, but be able to let them go. And to me, that would be the most devastating part of being a foster parent, and I'll be real honest with you about that. But beyond that, we ask you if you can provide transportation, if possible, if you can do that, to get them, take them to school, pick them up if they're sick, be home with them if they're sick, get them to doctor's appointments, do anything you would do for them, like if they were your own personal child. Do those kinds of things. Stay home with them if they're sick, or any of those types of things. Help them with their homework. Take them to those appointments. Do those kinds of things. Love them like they're your own. Treat them like they're your own, but be able to let them go. And like I said, to me, that's going to be the hardest part. All of our foster kids that come into foster care visit with their parents. And they start out usually with weekly visits with their parents. And that's a tough part too, is that we're asking you to communicate with the biological parents. And that's, sometimes that's hard, and sometimes, we want you to meet those parents. And some foster parents have a hard time with that too. But we ask you to do that too. And we ask you to, if you want to exchange a notebook to say, this is what happened this week when they, when they weren't with you. And, even phone calls and things like that. Sometimes our foster parents have a hard time with that, but we ask you to be very open and honest with the biological
Try to
parents
keep
about how
that
to
line of
keep that line of communication open, and let the child know, hey, I'm talking to your mama.
Right.
If you do this here, I'm going to tell her. And those kinds of things, so that everybody's on the same page. And because if just like if your child goes and spends the night with grandma, everybody knows what happened.
Right.
So we want that to work the same way while the child's in foster care too. So
I don't know whether I'm sure you can answer this question, but if a child is in foster care, but they have a great and loving relationship with their grandparents, can they still go visit their grandparents?
well, lots of times when a child first comes into foster care, we always look to family to see if a family member would be appropriate for the child to go stay with first, before we ever look to place a child in a foster home. And if a family member is appropriate, that's where we will place that child to begin with. And the thing about it, they don't have to meet all the same criteria that a foster parent would, but they're not going to get a foster care payment either.
Yeah.
So, but if we always try to place, with a parent, with a grandparent, an aunt, an uncle, even a really good friend of the family, if we can find that first, because that's always better, for a child than to go stay with a stranger. If they if they can stay with grandma or grandpa or aunt or uncle, or even church friend or something like that, that's always better for a child in foster care, because it does keep that connection. And it helps them out, it helps the family out, helps the parents out. But we still, if we're involved, we make sure that that's that they're there.
So if the family member they have a loving relationship, but that family member is not able to take that child in for whatever reason. They just can't do it. Whether it's physically because of health issues, financial issues, or what have you. Can they still come and visit the child just as the parent would have that right?
Not usually, because the parents are the one who gets the visit, but if the parent wants them to come with them, we would let them see them probably for a little portion of the parent's visit.
Gotcha.
But the visit is set up for the parents only. And that's the way the court works, and that's the way it has to be, because, you know, you only get a limited amount of time. And we only have a limited amount of social workers and everything else, so we say it's the parents' visit, but if they want grandma to come, you know.
Well, that's
and you
great.
want, you know, if parent, you want grandma to be here in your visit, that it's your visit, you know, that's the thing.
That's wonderful that they have that option. And so I was asking earlier about what do you look for in a foster parent. I thought it was so great when I actually was doing a press release, and it said that you don't have to be rich. You don't have to have all this education.
No.
And you don't have to be the pillar of the community or whatever. You just got to be a good person and a loving person and want to be there for a child in need.
That's it. That's all we're asking for.
Yeah.
That's all we're asking for.
Yeah.
You know.
So the next question is, what can the public do to help?
Okay. Right now, the thing about it, normally in this time of the year, or usually in August, we ask for, you know, stuff from the community for back to school.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you've got all these kids here that are going back to school, and we, you know, even right now sitting in my office, I have notebook paper and pencils and colors and glue. And
can we just bring them at any time?
You can if you want to. We, you know, because we're always having kids, and especially kids that come into care, they may not, you know, the backpack might have gotten left somewhere else, or if they've moved to foster home, they may not have everything they need to start school with. So we do try to keep some of those on hand, so they'll have what, you know, even if it's a pack of pencils or, you know. All of us remember going to school and going to the store and buying, you know, and getting those things even for our own children, you know, for that first day of school. You know, it's coming up soon here when they'll actually be back in class. And it's a little different virtually, but still you need those kinds of things, you know. But we have that this time of year. But coming up, we've got Christmas. Christmas is 3 weeks from the end of next week. I mean, 3 months from the end of next week. So I'm sorry. We're in September now.
Speed it up, Cathy,
don't speed it up. Please don't speed it up. But we look to help out all of these kids that are in foster care for Christmas. Some of our biological parents don't have the ability to provide Christmas for their own children, be that they're not working or anything like that. And our foster parents lots of times don't have the ability either to buy Christmas for these kids either, because, you know, here this child comes into your home a week before Christmas or 2 weeks before Christmas. You don't know anything. You know, you think about that, and here, okay, buy them Christmas. You can't do that. You know, I mean, how are you going to do that? You can't do that. And you may not know enough about them or anything like that. So, you know, when children come into care, we start looking to say, okay, we've got to get Christmas for these kids. So that the agency takes on the responsibility of, you know, trying to buy Christmas for these kids. In years past, we've been very fortunate. We have a group or several groups that give us cash donations, and they do fundraisers and things like that to help us buy Christmas. And we have groups in the community who'll say, can we sponsor a child for Christmas? And they do. And they do it out of the goodness of their heart. And they, you know, we greatly say, here these kids, you sponsor them. And we ask our children, what do you want for Christmas? And we do that for them. But we definitely need sponsors for our kids for Christmas. And if you're interested in doing that, you can call our office and we can say, here's children that you can sponsor. We should have them all of our kids' information back in by the 1st of November. And if anybody wants to sponsor a child for Christmas, we'll give you their, you know, we might give you a first name, and if they're, you know, a boy or a girl, and what their wish list items are. You know, some of them are very easy, you know, a pair of shoes and a basketball or something like that, you know. And, you know, we ask you, you know, if you can give them a little more than that, or a pair of clothes, you know, some clothes or something like that. You know, lots of times when these kids come into care, they come with, and it's true what you hear, they come with a garbage bag full of stuff, and that's the truth. That's what they have. You know, some of them have a little bit more than that, some of them don't. And so we go and we buy stuff. We go to Walmart all the time, but we do shop and buy Christmas for our kids in care. But we do have some sponsors that gladly come and help us out with that. Plus, too, we have adults that we buy Christmas for too. So if you can't do a kid, we've got adults that need Christmas too, and a lot of those are in nursing homes or family care homes, and we just bring them a bag of personal care items. So if you can't do a kid, maybe you can do an adult, not quite as expensive. So, sometimes personal care hygiene items do get very expensive sometimes, but, lotions and hand lotions and things like that, but, not much, but we ask for those things too. So we have about 85 wards that we do that for too. So, Christmas gets very busy in our office.
I can imagine.
And, we bring children in. One year, even last year, we brought children into foster care on Christmas Eve. So, there we were on Christmas Eve, and we went out and got Christmas for those kids. And the thing about it, we were shopping on Christmas Eve, when all of our offices were closed. We were closed for 3 days at Christmas, but we were Christmas shopping and came back to the office, wrapped gifts, and took them to the foster home where those kids were, and they woke up on Christmas morning with Christmas. So, imagine being that foster parent. Here, can you have these children in your house, and you have not a thing for them for Christmas, but here come the social workers back to your house that afternoon with Christmas for those kids, because that's what we did. But we're available. But it was so fortunate. We had a church last year that came to us the day before we closed. I think it was a Friday afternoon that we closed, and she said, I was really late. I can't even think of the church now. But she came to me and she said, we did a fundraiser. We wanted to do something. And she said, here, and handed me $400 worth of Walmart cards.
Oh, my.
On the Friday before we closed. And she said, I know you can probably use these. Well, that's what bought those kids Christmas.
That is so wonderful.
And it just still
gives
gives me cold chills talking about it. And I wrote her a letter and to thank her, when we got back after Christmas, said, you will never know what that did. But, it's always something like that you see, and that it works out for whatever reason, because we didn't have anything for those kids on that day, and the worker that told me that was at the office that day, I said, go get those cards, they're in my desk drawer, and it was there. And so they went to Walmart and they spent all that $400 worth of Walmart cards to buy Christmas for those kids. But that's what we do. But it's, that's a need that we always have, is for Christmas, for school supplies. We don't have room to store a lot. You've been to our office, we do not have room to store. And, we have our people spread out. We have people working from home now because of COVID. But we really don't have a room to store. But if you can make a contribution, we'll send you a letter. We have an account that is just for Christmas, and we will use that money wisely.
That is great. And I remember, that story just gives me chills.
Oh, it still gives me chills.
It would bring tears to my eyes if I wasn't.
Well, it did.
Right.
I
I saw that. But anyway, thank you for sharing that, because that was a true Christmas story.
It is a
true Christmas story.
It is.
And it just shows that, like I've said before, you all are superheroes.
Yeah.
The cape is just optional.
I know, the cape is optional, That's what our billboards in the county say now.
Yeah.
Be a superhero, become a foster parent. Yeah.
Absolutely. I've seen them coming and going,
Yeah.
and it makes me smile every time. And I hope you in the community will consider this as a major need for here in Rockingham County, just giving a child another chance at life, if only for temporarily. You never know what you have done and how you've changed that child's life and maybe influenced their future. And so, and we were talking about Christmas, and I remember the Easter baskets.
Yes.
And I'm sorry, I can't remember the two ladies' names.
They were from United Healthcare that did it.
That was so nice. So,
it was, yeah.
Yeah, that was just so nice and so beautiful, and just the love that you just get from just ordinary people, just ordinary people with a heart.
With a heart. They were wonderful. The Easter baskets were totally unexpected.
Was it unexpected?
We didn't know. And the funny thing about that, they wanted to give them to another county, and they said they didn't want them, and we said, we'll take them. And then bring them on, and our kids just went crazy over those Easter baskets, and they were done perfectly for age groups and things like that, and they were gorgeous. They were gorgeous Easter baskets,
awesome.
And we loved them.
Maybe that'll be a tradition.
Maybe it will be, because we were very thankful, very grateful for them.
Yeah.
They were beautiful.
Yeah. Well, Cathy, I want to thank you so much
Thank
for taking
you,
the time and sharing a little more about us. I've learned a lot, and I hope our watchers, listeners, have learned just as much and continue to keep doing the excellent job that you all are doing for the children and families here in our county. So this is the end of our first segment. Thank you for joining us on Yours in Health and Human Services, and we'll see you next time. Bye.